live.
It says live right in the corner. It says live. Oh God, what's happening? I'm freaking out, man.
No, Casey. It says live. It's telling you to live your life.
Okay, that's like
doors.
Okay, that's like the message of like Gravity, where she has to live, or Princess Mononoke.
Difference between a long eye and a short eye.
Man, there's a lot of movies that tell me I should live. I wonder why haven't I been listening to them?
Because you're too drunk.
I'm not even going to count us in on this one. We had such a fantastic start with that live live joke that I'm just going to roll right into it.
I know, I love it. I think that we should all kind of be enamored. So we're rolling right now. We're recording.
We're on, baby. I
want to be on the big screen, so we'll be quiet for just a second because I want to say I have no reason to drink a big shot, but I'm drinking a big shot right now.
Holy Christ.
Wasn't it Norma Desmond that says there's no such thing as
yes,
big people but small camera? What is it? Small screens? What is it? You know it.
I'm still big. It's the roles that got small. It's the parts. It's the parts that got small.
It's the parts that got smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am.
Well, and with a lot of you can see what that means. There's a lot of stories, a lot of movies where there's some characters that just aren't worth playing. None of those were written by the great William Shakespeare, who created impeccable characters. Even the smallest characters in his shows, his plays, had incredible depth to them or interest, and that's why tonight we're talking about Joss Whedon's new Much Ado About Nothing.
That was a beautiful segue, Mr. Conrad.
Who are we?
Who are we?
I don't know.
What are we doing? I don't even remember anymore.
I feel like James Stockdale. Who am I? Why am I here?
I think we're the Pretentious movie Snobs.
I get that one.
Snobs.
We are the.
For everyone who does get that, James Stockdale was an incredible badass.
Who was he?
Yeah.
He ran for vice president with Ross Perot in is it '96? But he was also he was he an admiral? Was he Admiral Stockdale? Yeah, and he was a prisoner of war in Vietnam, and he did some pretty incredible things.
Wow. So I can't really make fun of him because he's like a
lot of people did at the time.
Hero.
Because he didn't have like media trade, as if the most important thing in the world is to be able to talk into a microphone. I mean, I can't talk into a microphone worth a damn. But
yeah, you can.
Hey, yes, I can. Okay, Dave, who are we?
We are the Pretentious Movie Snobs, the wildly successful video podcast watched by tens of people, probably the same person tens of times, I'm thinking. But we keep doing them.
I am hoping we're somebody. I hope we're somebody's late night habit.
Yeah, we've got Kimberly Blagrove, the Nappy Wanderer, soon to be wandering to Europe, doing some shows from Europe. And we have Kent Conrad of ExplodedGoat.com and other things. Right. Cinema Centuries, and author of 3 or 4 books you can buy on Amazon. And
that's right. Soon to be more. I'm knee deep in something new right now.
All right. Kent is balls deep into his next project. Even though he said knees, and I had to say balls. Sorry.
Balls. So wait.
That's fine.
Dave Smith?
I am Dave Smith, the microscopically successful screenwriter and self-published author. I published myself.
There you go.
There's a joke in there. It says, Rudy Ray Moore, sometimes I publish myself. That wasn't very funny.
You're paraphrasing.
I like that. Yeah, it's but
yeah. So we are going to be talking.
Rudy Ray Moore.
Yeah.
Can I say I'm still not used to this whole YouTube thing? Like I forget that we're on camera. So now that we are, I want to do little neck roll because I know I can. I don't notice that we can do stuff and people are watching us. So.
I'm pretty sure at some point
tonight. Do that too?
Huh?
Can Canadian black chicks do that too?
I'm trying. That's pretty lame, but that's my best attempt. It looks like I have like a neck ache or something.
What I really want you to do at some point tonight, Kimberly, is snap in a Z formation. You know, just kind of.
Well, she looks like she's advertising a new kind of headphones because they're like, are your earbuds hurting your neck? And you're like, nah. And they show you the ones that don't hurt your neck. God, that was hilarious.
No.
Okay, let's go to entertainment news. Has anything happened this last week anyone gives a damn about?
Ruby Dee recently passed away.
Ruby Dee?
That's true. Yes.
That's big news.
Yep.
I thought someone said Sandra D or Kiki D or something, but I didn't know it was Ruby D. Wasn't she married to Ossie Davis?
She was married to Ossie Davis. She was famous for Raisin in the Sun. Beautiful actress, and she was like 91.
Wow.
So she lived a long life.
I think she'll be best remembered for playing the old religious woman on the mediocre adaptation of Stephen King's The Stand that was on TV in the mid-'90s, directed by Mick Garris.
No one should be remembered for that.
And I wasn't alive, but when she shot Lee Harvey Oswald on live TV, that was it's still remembered.
and it's amazing she had a comeback for that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Jack Ruby D. I just like.
Do we have any other things we need to talk about in the entertainment news? I didn't see anything. I was working too hard.
Harrison Ford broke his ankle. I think that's hilarious.
Oh wow!
Harrison Ford broke his ankle falling off the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, on the set.
Yes.
Of Star Wars.
I have high hopes for these new J.J. Abrams Star Wars movies. I like what he did.
I do as well.
Some of the things he did with the Star Trek adaptation, even though the second one was not that great. But why the hell are these ancient people in this movie? I don't need more Luke and Leia. It's a
tribute to them because they were in the original.
You think you don't, but maybe he's going to do something fantastic with Leia.
Maybe, but I wonder, is the interest the Star Wars world, or is this some sort of nostalgia kick? Is that all it is? Is that all that is going to guide these movies? Is people wishing for their long-lost dead youth?
They might be just cameos like in the Brady Bunch movie where, Peter's getting roughed up, and then the guy that blows the whistle is the actor that played the real Peter. He's like, hey, Dittmeyer, that was the real Peter. He's just standing there. And then Barry Williams plays the record producer that's going to sign Johnny Bravo. He takes off his glasses, and it's the old Greg Brady. Maybe it would be something like that. Like one of the stormtroopers' masks falls off, and it's Mark Hamill.
Is that tired? Is that tired yet or no?
Oh yeah.
And That's one of the really weird things from the recent Godzilla movie is when they introduced this Admiral character, and he was played by character actor. Is it David Strathairn? What the hell is this guy's name?
David Strathairn, yeah.
David Strathairn. He's a fine actor. He's in a lot of good things. He he kind of disappears into all of his roles, but he was shot like from behind for almost a solid minute. It's like, that's the sort of thing that when it turns around, you're going to be shocked who this is, and it's a character actor. Oh my God!
Yeah.
It's the guy who played Pierce Patchett in L.A. Confidential. Wow.
Pierce Patchett is a great actor. He's an Oscar winner now. What was his name? I forget his name. Yeah,
David,
that's right.
No, he's a fine actor, but he's not.
Is it
Strathairn. I don't know how to pronounce it, but he is a very good actor. The shot made no sense because it was leading up to that. If it turned around and it was like Anthony Hopkins, that might have made sense.
Or Raymond Burr, from the original Godzilla. It's like, it's a big moment. It's a sting, but it's like,
not.
Look at it. It's this guy you recognize from 100 movies but can't remember his name.
I know. Right. Yeah. It's a little anticlimactic, but he is a good actor.
Oh yeah, he's a fine actor. No, I like him a lot. This is no patch on him. It's just a weird bit of direction. So I think that's about it for entertainment news. We've made fun of old people and been sad someone's dead. What movies?
We talked about that Bryan Singer thing. And apparently the guy decided to drop all the charges. I guess
he got a lot of money.
Probably got paid off, or actually got a part that he was promised, and maybe he just decided
that could be. That's how most of
who just had sex at all the parties and decided to be a dick about it. That's probably what the.
Can money really buy you happiness after you've been like a human, pinata or sex toy?
It sure works for a whole bunch of people who knew Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. That's so
Those parents
sad.
Tons of money was passed hands there.
Does it make up for all of that? Those poor kids. The parents are taking advantage of their kids. But I digress.
No, it can't. So if you dropped it and just went away, it probably didn't happen. I think he was there and had lots of sex and decided to try to use it, and then decided, oh fuck it, I'm not going to use it.
What has made me think that there's not as much to this as it sounds is because the cover story was, oh no, these were just innocent, massive gay sex orgies.
That's it.
where we checked ID at the door. We wanted them to look 14 but be 18. I don't know.
I think Bryan Singer is he's doing Lord of the Cock Rings next for his series.
No, there's a little scuttlebutt he might be dropped from the next X-Men movie. I haven't seen the new X-Men.
I want to see the studio head slam his hand down on the desk and say, "Get me Brett Ratner."
He already did that.
I know.
They did that for The Last Stand, which is one of the worst movies I've seen in the.
He's doing one with The Rock, and that looks so hideous. Did you see that?
What, is that the Hercules movie?
Yes. And I love The Rock, but that looks like a horrible movie.
I hate Brett Ratner unless he wants to buy one of my screenplays, in which case he's awesome.
We're happy to have him on the show, and we could talk to you. No, not even.
Now, talking about cinematic masterpieces, maybe we should discuss what movies we might have seen this week. Kimmy?
I normally see some, but I've been very, very busy. I've not seen a movie other than the movie we're talking about today.
Okay, cool. We'll be getting to that then. How about you, Mr. Smith?
I think I watched it before the last podcast, but I watched a documentary about Muscle Shoals. Did I talk about that?
Oh.
No.
Sounds familiar. Are you sure you didn't mention it? But go ahead. Speak again.
I think I mentioned it at the party, Kimmy. Maybe.
Oh, maybe
possibly.
That's why.
But really good doc. Muscle Shoals, referring to the sound studio, very famous sound recording studio in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, where a lot of people got their start, like in the R&B, soul type stuff, like Aretha Franklin. They didn't know what to do with Aretha Franklin until she went there and recorded all her really good stuff, and it's just had a great sound there. And they had this band. They're a bunch of white dudes that would accompany all the artists, and they ended up getting a nickname called the Swampers because it's a swamp area, but they were just really good background musicians, but like really good. Like they could have probably, I think they did tour with artists. But they ended up creating this sound. Like Wilson Pickett did all of his best stuff there, James Brown, Percy Sledge, and then later a lot of rock acts would go there. Like the Stones did a bunch of good stuff there. Who's the band that crashed in the plane? Lynyrd Skynyrd. They did their first whole album there, but it never sold because for various reasons, but it has a lot of great stuff on that, and then later they ended up signing with a bigger label, but you can still get the Muscle Shoals Lynyrd Skynyrd, which is kind of cool to compare, interesting.
I know.
It was a good documentary, though, very interesting.
Peter, my good friend, Peter, if he's listening,
Hi, Peter.
Hey, Peter, he's the one that had told me about that documentary. I said it was great, too.
When you mentioned that the great backing band, Dave, that put me in mind of there's a documentary which I haven't seen but I've heard is good about the Los Angeles studio musicians who were the backing band for many of the big hits of the '60s. That's the Wrecking Crew.
Oh yeah,
I mean, they're all like all over Beach Boys records. Just about most people who record in Los Angeles, they would get people from there, like a great female bassist, Carol Kay, who played. She was on the Good Vibrations record, but she was in tons of stuff. And they were a fantastic band, and it's amazing how much of the stuff that we listen to we don't really know who we're hearing.
Yeah, it's cool, and it was kind of fun to because sometimes you get all these insights into songs that you've known since you were a little kid, and you get to hear someone talk about what was going on the day they recorded that and how they there's a cool part on on the Aretha Franklin part where the drummer or the bass guy was just talking about how they were trying to do that "Never Love a Man the Way That I Love You," that song.
No,
it's Aretha Franklin. You'll know it if you heard it. But it's got a really cool bass line.
I don't listen to race music.
Something like that.
Oh.
It's kind of fun how they were trying all day they had the lyrics, but they didn't know what they wanted to do, and then
race records. That's what they call them in the '50s.
Noodling race on the bass, and then they go, "Hey, I like that." It's kind of cool to find how this stuff fell into being iconic. It's very interesting. So there's a lot of those moments.
Yeah, and a lot of the thing that's interesting is a lot of the recordings that they were doing in the '60s and '70s, stuff that people would get credit for nowadays.
Yeah.
You get like David Bowie. He was a creative guy. He got writing credit on all his songs, but he would come in with like bare sketches, and his producer and his band would really come up with a lot of the interesting stuff. Tony Visconti was his producer for a lot of things, and he played bass on all of them. And he basically wrote, he and Mick Harvey, I think is the name of his guitarist. This is during the Spiders from Mars era. Wrote a lot of the like the riffs and stuff for the tunes, but they were all credited writing by David Bowie.
Of
some things
course,
like that.
but I find a lot of artists do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
a lot
part of
them
the
teams. Yeah.
That's part of if you're the guy whose name's on front of the record, I'm certain that lots of songs that are credited people who they're really written by somebody else, but you see you throw enough cash up front at somebody, they'll give you the credit, and then they get to say they wrote the song for the rest of their lives. It's a little unfortunate, but anyway, that sounds like an interesting doc, Dave.
Yeah, I recommend that one. Definitely good.
And now I'm going to chime in. I watched a lot of stuff over this last week. It was kind of a nice time. First, I have a movie that I have a review that'll be in Cinema Centuries tomorrow. Ooh. I say, giving myself a deadline. That's for The Book Thief. It's a movie that came out last year. It's about a young girl who is almost like sold off to live with this family somewhere in Germany during the mid-30s or late 30s to the mid-40s, through World War II. And it's kind of that sort of story about a girl growing up living in kind of a Nazi camp, not camp, but in like a middle-class place when the Nazis reign, and she doesn't know how to read, and so the thing is, it's kind of like decent middle-brow entertainment, where
it's slow.
It's gorgeous. It is a little slow, but it's beautiful to watch. It's like and I wrote in my review that I always think it's stupid to say, well, they don't make this kind of movie nowadays. They really don't. It was like a drama that could have been made in the 40s or 50s. Where they kind of encapsulate an entire era through the eyes of this one girl, and there's a lot of great scenes, and of course at some point they're hiding a Jew in the basement, and by the way, I know some people find saying a Jew offensive. That's stupid. It's not offensive. It's just descriptive. Anyhow, and so I quite liked the movie. It got really middling reviews. It's Rotten Tomatoes scores like 46%.
Wow.
And I think that is due to the pretensions of reviewers more than any quality of the movie. It's a good film. So The Book Thief, that's good. I just watched Gravity again tonight, and even though it's not as impactful on a small screen, it's not as terrifying. On the big screen, that movie just scared the hell out of me with some of the stuff that happened. It really keeps a lot of its emotional impact. I know a lot of folks, including Kim's friend Pete, didn't care for the story. They thought it was underdeveloped. I think that it had just enough beats to pack the emotional wall up when the point is watching this thing happen. I think if it had had more story, and I think, Kimmy, you had that opinion too, maybe it would have been overloaded and overwrought. I like that movie. I like the way it was done. Okay, that's that. I watched a couple other things. I'm forgetting what I watched on Monday. It was great, though. I watched Goldfinger for the first time.
Oh.
James Bond, Goldfinger. And it's kind of, I like it, but it seems like it's the beginning of James Bond getting silly. When you have Odd Job with his iron fists and his hat that cuts people's heads off practically.
Yeah.
That's goofy. But I like the fights in it. The fights.
Pussy galore.
Oh yeah, Pussy Galore with Honoria Blackman. Yeah, she's quite a number. But I like the fights because they don't have the choreographed feel of like modern fights. They look like rough people hitting each other.
Yeah.
Which you don't get enough in fights these days. Even though fights look prettier nowadays, I think a lot of times they're over choreographed. Yeah. And last night, my God, I watched too many movies. I watched for the first time X-Men First Class.
Oh, how was that?
I was surprised how much of an actual movie it was for most of it. It has like characters who have motivations and do things. It's not like the Thor movies, which basically both Thor movies I think are practically exactly the same, and so is Captain America. And I don't have much hope for Guardians of the Galaxy coming up. And we didn't discuss this, but the biggest, saddest news, forget everyone dying over the last couple of weeks, is that Edgar Wright is no longer going to be directing Ant-Man.
Oh.
I was really looking forward to that. He's been working on that for 9 years. He's been working on that since before Iron Man kind of revitalized the whole thing. And the real reason was that the kind of the suit. I I don't like these sort of facile, well, the executives ruin everything sort of arguments, but when you look in the details of this, it's kind of the executives ruining everything. They basically told me, rewrite your script to make it less like not Iron Man and more like Iron Man.
Oh, I hate that. Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's ironic because Iron Man, when it came out, Iron Man was not like Spider-Man or Batman. There was not a bunch of pent-up fan excitement because let's get Iron Man. While real nerds maybe loved Iron Man, he wasn't a big guy, and he was made a big guy by a movie that was practically improvised.
And did not the studio not want Robert Downey Jr.? I think.
Yeah, they did not want him. They didn't want him at all. Yeah,
of course they didn't.
And so you see that kind of, and this is just the kind of the typical cycle for creativity, and it's happened at Disney several times. Disney, in the late '90s, late '80s, early '90s, had a big run of really good animation. And then it started to be that the Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg wanted to have more control over it because they wanted to be able to say our movies are great because of me, and then the movies started to suck. I mean, after Lion King, does anyone love Pocahontas? I don't think so. Does anyone really love Mulan?
I know one person who loved Mulan.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater with an Asian, and neither of us liked it. Is that the second racist thing I've said?
No, I'm sure you've said more. We've just ignored them.
But anyhow, getting back to X-Men First Class, it's a story. It's set in the '60s, and it has a groovy, like electric guitar soundtrack. It has a lot of kind of interesting stuff happening. The problems with the movie are that the X-Men that are in there are not the X-Men. It's characters that nobody who has never really read the comics have ever heard of, like Banshee and Darwin, and I can't even remember some of them. They're such garbage. The original X-Men in the comics were Cyclops and Beast and I think Jean Grey and Iceman and people who were in the original X-Men movies, one of which is good, one of which is mediocre, and Last Stand, which is terrible. So, but X-Men First Class, kind of rolls back that, and it has an interesting story. It's about, basically Charles Xavier, who is Professor X. This is well before he's in a wheelchair, and he's kind of a swinging guy who likes to use his knowledge of mutant powers to get chicks. And him.
Does my intelligence make you horny, baby? Does it?
Basically, yeah. It's a kind of a fun take on the character, and he's kind of contrasted with Magneto, who's not called Magneto in the beginning, and that's just such an awful name for a pretty interesting character. But he was a Jewish guy who was in concentration camps, and he caught the eye of this horrible Nazi doctor, and so he's got a lot of angst in his backstory. It's like two contrasting philosophies and how to deal with mutants dealing in the human world.
I believe I sided with Magneto in that movie.
In First Class?
Yeah. I would have followed Magneto.
Yeah.
Was James McAvoy in that First Class?
Yes.
Or no? Oh,
yeah,
good.
He played Charles Xavier. Yeah.
That's what I thought. He's a great actor. I love him.
And it's a real fun role for him. And that's, like I said, it ends up with a bunch of people using powers and throwing special effects at each other at the end. But for about an hour and a half, it's almost like a real movie.
How many hours is it?
It's 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Oh, why?
So it's got about 40 minutes of schlock, but a lot of decent stuff. And I haven't seen the new X-Men movie yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I'll hopefully be seeing it.
I've heard it's very good from a trusted source. He said it was excellent.
I am happily ignorant of anything in it.
I'm not going to name it because he doesn't listen to this podcast.
Okay. But also, there was
he subscribes, but he doesn't listen.
In X-Men First Class, there was a fun Hugh Jackman cameo.
Oh, okay.
So Wolverine shows up for one scene. It's when Charles Xavier and Magneto are looking for mutants, and he tells them literally just to F off, and they walk away. It's fun.
That's great.
And I spoiled it for anyone who hasn't seen it. Okay, but that is all the movies I've seen, and I've talked for way too long about them because we still need to talk about the movie we watched for this podcast, which is Joss Whedon.
And we're done. Thanks for listening.
Ah, man! What did I do? Much Ado About Nothing. Do I need to give a summary of this? Is there any?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Joss Whedon's Much Ado About Nothing is a modernization of the Shakespeare classic. It's kind of the basic template for the romantic comedy, where two characters who seem to despise each other at the beginning fall in love by the end, and there's a marriage, and there's an evil prince, and that's about it. It's hard to praise these Shakespeare stories because they are a little more involved than most movies. But
it's a whole bunch of nothing in the end.
This was directed by Joss Whedon in 2 weeks, shot at his house in lieu of taking a vacation after he directed The Avengers.
You got that off of IMDb, you know that, right?
I found that in various places, Wikipedia too. It was shot. It's shot in black and white. It stars kind of a who's who of Joss Whedon properties. Beatrice, maybe the greatest female character ever written in anything. Beatrice, by in Much Ado About Nothing, William Shakespeare. It's played by Amy Acker, who I've consulted with numerous sources, has the cutest nose in cinema.
Wow.
It's like a ski slope. She's adorable. Alex Desanoff, Amy Acker, who I know was in some Whedon thing. I can't tell what it was off the top of my head. Alex Desanoff plays Benedict. He was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer for a couple of seasons, and an Angel for a few seasons. Clark Craig, who is known to most people as Agent... Crap, I can't remember his name. He was in the Avengers. He was in all the Marvel movies as the head of Shield.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so yeah. So David Smith is the one who picked this. I imagine you picked it without watching it first, right, Dave?
Yes, I just picked it at random because I wanted to take a look at it.
Let's toss the ring onto your head, Dave. What did you think after you watched Joss Whedon's Much Ado About Nothing?
I watched it in a few parts, and I did enjoy it. I thought it was pretty good. Do yourself a favor if you're planning on watching a Shakespeare movie, even though I've already seen the Kenneth Branagh version with Emma Thompson, which I liked a lot as well. Good idea to just go back for Shakespeare and go to SparkNotes and read the plot. So it's easier to keep your foot on the rail under the quicksand sometimes if you start to get lost. You'll catch it back, because although this is modern English, no, it's not Middle English. It's modern English, but sure, it is 500-year-old English. So there's a lot of you're not gonna remember. We don't use a lot of these words anymore. So you are gonna get lost a little bit, but it behooves you to read up on the plot. You know.
And some people can be confused. Shakespeare did not write like people talk. Shakespeare wrote in beautiful, elevated language, though with enough that the cheap seats could get it too in their day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and this one is not written in poetic verse like iambic pentameter, is it not? It's just regular verse, regular.
Yeah.
Okay. Because like Romeo and Juliet, when you're reading it, it's kind of fun to try reading it with the beats, because it's at the iambic pentameter with the 10 syllables with the 5 stress points. Mm-hmm. Like you should be reading, but soft, what light through yonder window breaks. It's good. It's interesting. But this one doesn't.
I have blocked out all of my English courses, so yeah. I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Sometimes when you're watching Shakespeare, though, too, it feels like homework. Really feels like homework, because you do have to pay attention. I mean, if you watch these 3 or 4 or 5, 6 times, then you really start to be able to appreciate every word that's being spoken, and so I would recommend that. But I'm with Ken. I love Beatrice. The Beatrice Benedict through line is great. It's such a great plot device to have everybody plot to make them fall in love by planting the idea that they love each other. It's just really fun, and it plays out great. Little broad and wacky. Some of those scenes where they're listening in on the thing. I don't know if it was originally done that way, but this was maybe overly playful, maybe. But it's good.
I could with the Benedict scene where he's not really hiding behind a bush and they're really pretending not to see him. Mm-hmm. But Amy Acker falling down the stairs just had me busting out laughing. I thought that was really funny.
And they had that moment at the beginning too, where they I guess they did it before. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I needed that scene.
Well, okay,
sure.
I don't.
I mean, it makes it more modern.
Well, but also it's hinted at in the play. That they do. She basically says, "Yeah, we were kind of romantic with each other, and it didn't work out for either of us."
Oh, okay. I forgot about that. So I guess I do need that.
Mm-hmm.
but not enough nudity. Again, a complaint that I have with a lot of things.
Yeah.
I
have a lot.
Greg.
I got a lot to say, but I want to hear what Kimmy has to say about it.
Not much. It's Shakespeare. I mean, what else can I say? I think Dave, which is weird, I don't normally agree with him on much. It does feel like homework. When I first started watching it, I think the first 20 minutes in, I was distracted and I was lost. And so I had to, start right from scratch, and start watching it again, and then it became more enjoyable. And then I was getting a lot of what I had, missed before, but I had to concentrate, which is, who wants to concentrate during a movie? Please. I just want something light. But I thought their performances were great. I actually think I liked the modern twist. I had no issues with them being romantically, involved in the beginning. I don't know. I think I would have liked it to have been tied together a little more. I had not read Much Ado About Nothing in school, so I didn't know if it was a tragedy or a romantic comedy. And it could have gone either way with that story. I know we're not giving away any spoilers or anything because it's been around for a while.
Yeah.
But when they had said that the sister hero was dead, it could have been another, Romeo and Juliet all over again. But it wasn't. I thought the acting was good.
That's part of the thing with a lot of Shakespeare is that in every romantic or comedic play of Shakespeare's, there's always a sort of dark element to it. There's always, even in a lot of them, like I'm trying to remember the one right now. I think it was is it Twelfth Night? That's one where there's a character who's kind of been mocked throughout it, and at the end he basically swears he's going to get revenge on everybody when he goes out. And in this, you have Prince John, who does really nasty stuff, essentially. And so it's like there's always a core in there where even when things are, as I said, it's Much Ado About Nothing. Ultimately, the big conflicts end up being nothing at the end of the thing.
Exactly.
But they could have gone a bad way, and they were precipitated by some dark heart. Similarly, like with all of Shakespeare's tragedies, with the possible exception of King Lear, there's a silver lining at the end. It's like the notion, like even at the end of Hamlet, when everybody's dead, the kingdom has been secured. And it's like, okay, there's not going to be any sort of reign of anarchy at the end of this. Things are going to be okay. Or like at the end of Macbeth, even with everyone being dead at the end, it's like, okay, well now Macbeth is gone and we have a secure king, and things might be okay from here on out. Because Shakespeare is, and I understand people might balk at this. I don't care how much you hate what your English school teachers in high school told you. Shakespeare is the best writer in the history of the English language, and his stories, even though he cobbled them together from numerous sources, are the best put together, and his characters are he is the apex. It doesn't. I don't care that you rebel against it because you're postmodern. It doesn't matter. You're wrong, and he's right.
That's true, and I believe now it is possible at some major universities to get a degree in English without taking a course on Shakespeare.
Wow.
Which
I
is,
don't know if I agree with that.
They should change the name of the
teachers administrators who thought that was a good idea, fuck you.
I often prefer this to be a PG-13 podcast, and in PG-13 movies you're allowed one F-bomb, and I got Dave used for that one.
We were so close to not having any, but okay, that's all right.
I used balls deep earlier. So
that's okay. That's
okay. You can say that.
I quite liked this. It took me 10 minutes to get into it. When I saw the sort of the modern stuff, I thought, okay, they're not digging too heavily into the modern thing, and Joss Whedon was able to actually get some visual jokes in there. I really liked it when the even though it's never clear in the play, it's quite clear that like Benedict and Claudio are knights. They're like knights who work with not Leonardo. I can't remember the name of the guy who Reed Diamond played. It's like the prince. He's not a prince, but he's like that sort of guy. And they're knights, and they go off and fight wars with him. That's what royalty did in Europe all throughout the Middle Ages. And so in this, I guess he's kind of like a politician because his John
I couldn't quite figure out what they all were. They look like, are they agents or something, or is he a politician?
It's kind of fake.
Yeah.
But the paparazzi.
But I thought it kind of it glided through that after a while to say, yeah, these. And when I first started, I thought, it'd be better if this were more abstract and you didn't try and put it into a real context, but just had people doing stuff. But ultimately, I think that worked pretty well. I liked that the songs were turned into real songs, because those songs that are in this movie are in the play.
Yeah,
they're in
Hey
different
Nani
places. The Hey Nani Nani and the thing about going around the tomb at the end. I really, really liked Nathan Fillion as Dogberry.
That's what I was going to say. He's my favorite.
He was hilarious, and that is because I remember that's one of the sore spots I think in Kenneth Branagh's, because Michael Keaton plays him, and he's not funny. He works real hard to be funny, but he's not, and he makes no sense. You can't tell what the hell anything he's doing is saying. And what I really appreciate about this is it made it really clear when he was interrogating suspects, when he was telling his troops what to do, but he didn't know how to be like a cop essentially. And he's telling him, okay, well, you shouldn't. If you see a thief, it's not good to hang around with thieves, so stay away from him. And stuff that makes no sense for cops. And I really liked his performance, especially the one point where the woman, the Conrad, no relation, calls him an ass.
I didn't like her.
Oh, she was terrible. But you see, his lip starts to tremble right after that. It's like that. This basically low life calls him ass, and it hurts his feelings.
He wouldn't let it go. He was my favorite person in that, and that's funny that you were going to say that, because that's exactly what I was going to say. Some of the performances, and maybe it's because of their age, I didn't feel that their performance, was very convincing. Like that one girl, and then the young
guy. She's a comedian.
guy.
She's not a real actress.
What's that?
She's a comedian. She's not a real actress.
Oh, there you go. But Nathan Fillion, he is Canadian, and he's fantastic. I'm just going to tell you that Canadians are fantastic. Canadian, fantastic.
Really well.
What's that?
I mean, you folks produced Phil Hartman. For my entire life, I'll be thankful to Canada for that.
Yes, and not Justin Bieber. No, we forgot about him. We've stuffed him under a rug. But yes, he not only did he speak the lines, Nathan, not Justin Bieber, he spoke the lines convincingly. It still remained true to the time, the period, but also it could have been his mannerisms, but it was very entertaining. And even his right hand man, I thought that was so funny who Joss Whedon has chosen, this very effeminate man as his right hand man. I thought was hilarious. Those worked. The bad guy, the bad prince, his acting wasn't all that great for me. It took me a while to get used to Beatrice and Benedict's character. She wasn't as spunky or as much as I would have liked her, but throughout the rest of the movie, she did grow on me. And Hero kind of was she could just be scenery. Maybe she's too young for her role.
It's the exact same thing, I think, with the Kenneth Branagh version. The actress they got to play Hero was kind of a non-entity. If you look at IMDb, this is the only movie this girl's done.
Oh, see? Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I thought, because a lot of performances were hit or miss. I really liked. I can't believe I can't remember the character's name because I liked him so well, and so I'm gonna vamp while I'm going on to.
Yeah, is this the one that declared? What is his name? Was he the go-between that set up Hero and her betrothed? Is that who you're talking about?
Yes. The Prince Don Pedro. Yes, Don Pedro, a Prince of Aragon. Aragon's in Spain. I thought he was really good.
He was great.
I think his character is played, was it by Denzel Washington in the Kenneth Branagh one, and I don't think Denzel Washington connected to it at all. But I thought because the way that he played it, you really I thought he felt real. He felt like And that's the thing that I think is really good about a lot of this version is, well, there's certainly some poor performances, and it was, according to Wikipedia, a lot of it was shot and some of it was one take, and they just went through.
Wow.
And you could see some people were kind of reciting lines while other people were acting.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked how he was not constantly drunk, but often drunk. And when they come up with this plan to ensnare Benedict and Beatrice together, it looks like the sort of things that the way he's acting, like kind of like, dude, I just had the best idea. And it felt real. It didn't feel just like somebody said, I am going through a Shakespeare plot. And with the sort of tightness of the plotting, and this was 108 minutes, it was an abridgment of the play, though I don't know off the top of my head what was cut out. It felt like a modern romantic comedy. It had the similar beats, though it went to a darker place near the end, which may be the problem with a lot of modern romantic comedies is they don't do that.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that's trimmed out of Shakespeare. I mean, yes, they'll drop whole sequences, but a lot of it is you'll read the play and there'll be a block of text like this, and they say the same exact stuff, but like this. They just skip over 3 or 4 lines, but it ends up being fine.
Yeah, that's cool. With everything except for anything Hamlet says. Everything Hamlet says in Hamlet needs to be there. His speeches are so intricate.
Who was a famous actor like Ben Jonson? Was he an actor or back in the day?
Ben Johnson's an actor. Yeah.
Somebody had said something about Shakespeare being great about not editing his own. It was kind of like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. There weren't any edits. He just wrote it down, and he blotted out nothing. But Ben Jonson had said, he said, would that he had blotted 1,000 lines. Something because maybe it's overwritten a little bit. That was pretty funny.
Wow. One thing I was going to say about the movie, and I don't think it really matters, but it definitely did not have, which is very surprising for Joss Whedon. I know he does TV primarily, but I mean he's a good director, and this definitely had a TV movie feel to it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it definitely had a different feel to it.
If you said that in the 70s, it would have been an insult, but nowadays it's okay. Unless we're talking about a Lifetime original movie.
And I think that's part of the nature of the production. It was done very cheaply. They were using Red cameras. You all know about Red. Yep. Yeah. It's a camera company that makes very high quality digital video. It was done with those. It was made in 12 days. It was all natural lighting.
Wow. Very
impressive. It's making me think that I've been wanting to do something like this for a long time, and I'm mad that Joss Whedon did it ahead of me. Except that he knows actors and he can direct, and I can't. I know I don't, and I can't. But anyway, I want to make my own King Lear. That's all.
Ooh.
Oh wow!
Can you shoot it inside my house? I have 2 daughters.
We'll try.
More do we need?
I have to play the character of Kent, though.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
He's the best character in the play. He's freaking awesome. He's the one who tells King Lear he's being an ass. When King Lear banishes him, he changes his appearance and comes back and stays loyal because he's such a good guy.
Oh, that's right.
Always believe in Kent. Always believe in Kent.
You're the best character of this play, Mr. Conrad.
Aw, thank you.
You are.
You said something earlier, Kent, talking about Much Ado About Nothing, and you're correct in there, and this is not shitting on your point at all, but because that is true. But in my further readings about this play, the original title was when you had seen it in the day at the Wooden O there, it was Much Ado About Noting. Noting meaning like. Marking something, taking note of, watching when people don't know you're watching. You're hiding, you're making, but people are making all the wrong assumptions about what they think they're noting.
That's interesting. So. Yeah, because the thing about it, and this I don't know that I fully realized until I watched this.
Are you playing? Are you yanking my leg?
Oh, that's true. That's true.
The thing I like is that when you look at the kind of the outline of it, what John, the evil prince is doing, and what Don Pedro are doing are the exact same thing. They're just one of them's doing it to bring 2 people together, the other one's doing it to tear them apart.
Yeah.
But they're pretending about love for each of them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and so the flip side of the same coin. Oh my God, I love Shakespeare.
He's smart. What happened to Don John? I think I might have fallen asleep partially.
Well, in the
he disappeared.
Yeah, they somebody gets a text, basically says we got him at the airport. In the play, he's caught. He's caught trying to run away, and he's put in irons. If you remember, Keanu Reeves played him in the Kenneth Branagh version.
God awful.
I see. I do not hate Keanu Reeves. A lot of people do. I think, but that might be influenced because everything I've heard about him as a person has shown that he's like an incredibly stellar human being. Like he leaves $100 tips for waiters, and he basically like, I don't know if it was the Matrix movies that he left for a while to go take care of his sister when she had cancer, but he's like he's like a 100% stellar, decent human being.
No, but I've always liked him.
He should not be in period films.
No,
I liked him in The Lake House, and I loved him in Matrix and Something's Gotta Give.
He should not have been in. I can never forget his reading when he played John Harker in Dracula, and when he says he's sitting there again, I have seen many strange things in this castle.
And he says, it's pretty awful.
First Matthew McConaughey, now Keanu Reeves. You are so talented.
But Winona Ryder wasn't much better in there. She said her husband worked as a clock in a law firm. I was like, really? You just stand,
that was her British accent?
Whisper what time it is to people?
No. We have to give Keanu Reeves credit where credit is due. He is not the best actor, but anybody who has been able to stay in the industry for as long as he has, with the skills that he has, I think that's very impressive.
Well, I think his best performance is one that none of you probably ever saw. I think it was his first movie, and it was when I saw it, I went, that Keanu Reeves guy was really good. And he plays a high school student who's troubled. It's called Permanent Record. He was really good.
No, I haven't seen that.
I've heard Permanent Record.
I think it's from the 80s. I think I saw it when I used to work at the theater in the 80s, but might have been 90. I don't know. No, it was earlier than that. Very good. He's very good, and I was very impressed with the young man.
I want to know,
so
just for the record, that Winona Ryder in Dracula, she was, I think, 21 when it came out, so she's probably 20 when it shot it, and she didn't quite do a nude scene, but almost, and oh my god. Wow. Beetlejuice is probably deep in the hearts of many young people who saw it then, because she was a freaking hot, 16-year-old at the time. I was 9 when that came out, and I think that's when I discovered love. Looking at Winona Ryder and Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Wasn't Japanese anime? Okay.
I'm going to say something that I'm going to regret having
anime
on the record. She was freaking ripe. Oh, my God. There it is.
Is your mom going to be listening to this episode?
I hope not. Damn. And then what the hell's wrong with her? She didn't do a nude scene until 2007.
Oh, poor Winona.
That's
Winona.
way past her. Anyway.
But she did she came back for what was that? Natalie Portman. She did an okay job. Black Swan. Yeah, and then she was the aged, performer, which is so sad that now she's old.
Yeah, it's a little sad though. Oh. Though I think she's also insane.
She is. I hear she's quite kooky. She's quite kooky. Oh, so are we saying I enjoyed the movie? Are we saying that we all enjoyed the movie? Is that what I'm hearing?
Saying that.
I think it was a fine example of modern Shakespeare. When we say modernized, some people might think that they've changed the language, and they haven't. So really, if you watch it and everyone's talking in moon talk to you, give it 10 minutes. You can probably fall into the rhythm of it.
Yeah, and like I said, go to online, go to your computer, and get on the internet and read the plot, just to keep yourself, okay, this is what's supposed to be going on. You'll get back on track if you get lost there. So do that. It'll be
so real quick before we wrap up tonight, and no one's prepared for this. I'm just launching out there. Favorite Shakespeare movies? I think I know Dave's, but
favorite Shakespeare play. I have not seen it in a movie form. I don't know if it ever did come out in a movie. And actually, I do want to touch on this. Merchant of Venice. Loved Merchant of Venice. I actually have to reread it. The portrayal of women, I thought, was fantastic. And actually, that's one of the things I want to touch upon, the portrayal of women in this. Well, I think Beatrice is great. Hero, is a little lacking. I mean, this
Well,
man did not believe her
See,
and
here,
cast her aside.
I think the thing with these young lovers is, and I think it's intentional, they're both dumb as dirt.
Absolutely.
Claudio believes everything he hears the second he hears it, and Hero's kind of a drip.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're a deliberate contrast to like Beatrice and Benedict being such interesting human beings.
Smart.
Plus, these are respected men, and a man, men duel over their word. So if you make an accusation, it's a very serious thing. And a woman who is, not a virgin, which is that's kind of a big deal back then, because women at that time are property, and they're basically there are a drag on your household unless you could unload them to some other guy and they won't want her.
That's a little overstated, but I think a lot of the notions that women could do nothing and be nothing at that time are based on modern feminist interpretations wherein they needed to portray women as weaker or more powerless than they actually were. Because otherwise, what is there to rebel against? Similarly to like Betty Friedan pretending she was a housewife when she was not.
Remember, this takes place in Italy, so
Yeah.
Or Spain. Is it Spain or Italy? Where does it take place?
I don't remember.
Well, I mean, just keep in mind one of the most powerful people in the era was a woman, Lucretia Borgia. In
Spain.
And
in Spain.
No, she's Italian.
Is she Italian?
I think Borgia's Italian. Anyhow, but the attempt to depict the state of womanhood as 3,950 years of dirt until somebody wrote a book in the mid-50s is nonsense. But now I'm getting on my own sort of hobby horse, and I don't want to do that because you're right. But that's the thing I like about it, though, is that there is there's only. I think there's more in the play. In this movie, there's only really 2 female characters that
Oh, no, 3.
Yeah.
And I wasn't crazy about her either. She was the one that they used as the stand-in for Hero. And I think they planned to have a bigger role for her. She was actually on Growing Pains, the little girl with the fuzzy hair in the later episodes.
Oh, my God.
Do you remember her? She was anyway.
Vaguely.
She willingly, I guess she unknowingly had played, she was first trying to help the situation with Hero and I keep forgetting the guy's name.
Claudio.
And then, what's that?
Claudio.
And then at the same time, she also helped to destroy them unwittingly. Which was interesting, but she wasn't evil, and in the end, everything worked out. But again, she was pretty much manipulated. But Beatrice is she's a very modern woman. I think that Shakespeare definitely had a more modern take on many women in a lot of his plays. So, for his time and for
No, keep in mind, for most of the time when he was writing, England was ruled by a queen.
There you go. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so wait a minute. I said that my favorite play was Shakespeare. I loved the original, not Shakespeare, The Merchant of Venice. I loved the Juliet. That I also really liked it. Huh?
Romeo and Juliet.
You dropped off for a second there.
Oh, I dropped off. Yeah, Romeo and Juliet. Oh, thank you. And I really loved that. I even liked the modern version with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes.
Me too.
Just very stylistic. But no, I love Romeo and Juliet. I think it's a great play. What about you guys?
Mr. Smith?
Kent's probably going to say, and he's correct, that Henry V, the Kenneth Branagh Henry V, is my favorite one. Although I do think some of the most beautiful romantic pieces are Romeo and Juliet for sure. Romeo's dialogue, his emoting about Juliet is phenomenal.
It's beautiful.
And some of the most manly dialogue would be from Henry V, and inspiring and blood curdling. It's great. Great play.
There's been a recent version of Romeo and Juliet written. It's kind of weird to say this about the screenplay. It's written by Julian Fellows, who does the Downton Abbey TV series.
I'm
Julian
Fellows. That was the Tracy Morgan character. I'm Brian Fellows.
Poor Tracy Morgan.
Yeah, poor Tracy Morgan. Shit.
Yeah.
Is he okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna live, but it's just anyhow. But I'm talking about Shakespeare here, and I think the not recent, but about a decade old Julian Temple, I think, version of Titus. I think is a fine movie. That 1999 is when it came out. It's really visually arresting. Julie Taymor, I'm sorry.
Oh, Julie Taymor. Mm-hmm.
Julie Taymor, who created the Broadway version of The Lion King, which is an astounding visual feat. Titus, though I think near the end it kind of spirals out of control and having too much modern symbolism. It's one of my favorite Shakespeare plays because it's one of the nastiest. Mm-hmm. It's the one where at one point a girl is raped and her rapist cut off her hands and cut out her tongue so she can't tell anybody.
Wow.
Though ultimately she's found out of her father's, Titus, in the film played by Anthony Hopkins, and so he takes both of the men who raped his daughter, cuts their throats, hanging them upside down, bakes them into a pie, and feeds it to their mother.
Oh, God. That's very dark.
And this sort of thing appeals to me. I don't know why, but I like it. It's a fine play.
Well, it was only exceeded by Eric Cartman in that one episode.
That's right.
I love
he gets that bully back and makes chili. Yeah, that's great.
That was a great episode.
I taste your ears.
That's
but yeah, the film, Julie Taymor's film, stars Anthony Hopkins, Jessica Lange, Jonathan Rhys Meyers is in it. It's dark as all get out. It's nasty and horrible. It's full of Romans murdering each other. The first scene is Titus coming back to Rome with his 20. He has 26 sons, and 20, maybe 4 of them are dead and being carried along with him as he lost them in the wars. Oh. It's madness. It's great.
This is one of the most.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to cut you off. This is your favorite. This dark, disturbing.
Yeah. Titus and the movie's called Titus. The play was Titus Andronicus.
Wow. Yeah. Of course, you would choose one of the most obscure and darkest of all of Shakespeare's works, which is typical Conrad.
If we want to go a little further afield and do kind of adaptations that aren't strict, Throne of Blood by Akira Kurosawa, which is an adaptation of Macbeth, is fantastic. Ooh. It's got Tetsuro Mifune playing the Macbeth character, and it has this great scene at the end where he's just turned into like a pincushion with arrows. It's beautiful.
Wow.
Beautiful.
And of course Ran, which is based on King Lear.
Yeah.
King Lear is his most nuanced play from my perspective. It's so much great stuff.
I love King Lear. I would have to say I never have seen a more romantic writer, yet a more disturbed writer. I mean, he just seems to he can go either way, and Shakespeare is fantastic. And after all this time, he's still relevant, which is very impressive.
Well, human nature
unless the university system decides that they don't need it anymore.
Of course. And I think
they know best. You guys know best, guys in the university.
The basis of his longevity is that human nature does not change, and Shakespeare understood human nature and wrote about it.
But there's an honesty to it, even if, some say that he may not have really existed, or like you said, it's a combination of several writers, or who knows.
I say bah to that.
Bah. But he's definitely an honest writer.
A lot of that.
Yeah, Woody Allen wrote in one of his books, was it Getting Even or Without Feathers, talking with his little snippet about whether Christopher Marlowe had written Shakespeare's plays or Shakespeare had written Marlowe's plays, and he wasn't sure, but he said that he wouldn't cash a check for either one of them.
Wow, and he doesn't have to.
You got so confused.
Well, we are trying to make these shows shorter, but we're talking about Shakespeare. This one has gone about close to an hour.
Yeah, sorry, we had a late start because my daughter graduated from preschool today, so we had yes, so I got a late start. Took me a while to get the stripper out of here,
Here's where modern cynical Kent says, "Did anybody in the class not graduate? Is there a way to not make it out?" of preschool.
They're all winners.
No,
Congratulations, Sophie. I say it with love and snuggles.
Yay,
I remember
Sophie.
she was a little baby sitting in the middle of my house when she saw my cat and she wanted to come to her. She'd start shrieking. It was crazy. Like,
Yeah.
She's adorable.
playing with fake drum. No, I love your kids, Dave, but I don't love preschool graduations.
No, it
it's a lot of
tiresome. It was
Yeah.
tiresome.
That's awesome, though. Go for her.
Right on.
Should we talk about the next movie we're doing?
Oh, yeah.
what are we doing next?
We've already got it set up. Because let me just re-explain to the audience. We have moved our focus from new movies in theaters to movies which are easily available online streaming because we are old and don't like to leave the house, and you, our audience, are also old and don't like to leave the house, and most of you have Netflix Instant Watch or other ways of getting movies. Cough, cough. And so we're kind of basing what we watch on that. And so Kimberly has selected our next film. And what's that going to be, Kimmy?
It's going to be Gattaca, starring Ethan Hawke, Uma Thurman, and Jude Law.
Directed by Andrew Niccol, who directed the last film we talked about that Kimberly picked. She's becoming that Truman Show. She's becoming an Andrew Niccol aficionado.
I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen Gattaca. I couldn't remember it, but I do love the Truman Show, and I do respect Andrew Niccol for that, so yes, I think it'll be good. We'll be in for a treat.
Oh, great. And Dave, I liked that Gattaca thing you just did. I thought it was funny. I didn't want it to go unacknowledged.
I missed it.
Gattaca!
Gattaca! I said that before the movie, before our podcast. I was saying Gattaca, Gattaca. Oh, well, Dave, you do it so much better, so well played. I totally missed that.
Yeah. Well, that makes me queen for the day.
I'm tired. We're done. Everybody, I hope you liked us. I wanted to mention something. I should have mentioned it at the top of the show, but I didn't. A friend of the show, Dwayne Epstein, who recently published a biography of Lee Marvin.
Ooh, yes.
And that is available right now, and I purchased it on Kindle for 99 cents.
Oh.
So if you go to Amazon, you look up Point Blank by Dwayne Epstein, biography of Lee Marvin. You can get it cheap for Kindle right now. If you have a computer, you can read it on your computer. If you have an Android phone, you can read it on that, or iOS. Or if you have a dedicated Kindle, you can read it on that. So pick up that book. I've just started it, and I'm already enraptured. It's a fine read, I think.
Nice one, yeah. I had to pay full price to get my hard copy autograph, but it's okay since we know Dwayne. So.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
you
great.
definitely wanted a hard
quite a bargain. My book also on sale for 99 cents, Whiskey Tango, a whole other kind of spy novel. And how about yours, Ken? Dead First.
Dead First is still available. I think I forget what the price is. I think it's $3.99. Might be $4.99. I charge a lot because nobody buys it, so I want to feel good about the price.
I bought it.
And Kimmy did buy it, and I think Kimmy even read it.
I read it.
Yeah.
I was going to say I did read it.
Yeah, Kimmy read it. You and my aunt and I...
But I think I read 75% of it, actually, so I should finish that, yes.
It was a good read.
But in the next few months, there might be more to come from Old Kent Conrad, but what definitely will be is more Pretentious Movie Snobs, where we're going to put our weight on our movies. I'm Kent Conrad. David,
I'm Kimberly Blagrove.
There we go. I didn't know what we were doing either. But good night.
Hey, and Dave Smith.
No, don't mention him.
Wait. Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Yeah,
And
we're
we're
done.
out.